Have you ever experienced that inexplicable moment when a book, a message, or a piece of information arrives in your life at precisely the instant you needed it most? That uncanny feeling where every word seems to have been written specifically for your current situation, as if someone finally understands the silent struggles you've been facing on your journey toward financial freedom. If you're here right now, watching this content at this exact moment, it's not by chance. There's something far more profound operating behind the scenes of your life, something your intuition already recognizes, but your logical mind perhaps hasn't fully decoded yet. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. What you're about to discover challenges everything you've been taught about wealth creation. There exists an invisible force that guides certain knowledge toward the right people at the perfect moment. Not when you desperately search for it, but when your soul is genuinely prepared to receive and apply these transformational insights. Has this ever happened to you? You've struggled for years, trying different financial strategies, reading countless advice columns, attending seminars, yet something always felt missing. That crucial piece of the puzzle that would finally convert all your effort into tangible, lasting results. The uncomfortable truth most people refuse to acknowledge is that you weren't born to live paycheck to paycheck, constantly worried about money. Your purpose isn't to merely survive, scraping by and accepting financial mediocrity as your permanent reality. You were designed for something far greater, to transform your mind into a powerful magnet that naturally attracts abundance and prosperity. This knowledge we're about to explore isn't for everyone. It's specifically for those who have sensed for a long time that there's something more awaiting them, something bigger than their current circumstances, something their intuition whispers constantly, but their rational mind has dismissed as too powerful to be real. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to learn operates on a level that transcends conventional financial wisdom. There's a precise mental science that has remained hidden for generations, carefully guarded and transmitted only to those who demonstrate they're ready to handle its transformative power. This isn't about superficial techniques or magical formulas promising overnight success. We're entering territory where your mind becomes the most sophisticated tool you possess for manifesting genuine wealth. If you feel these words are igniting something deep within you, if there's a resonance you can't rationally explain, then your subconscious is already recognizing these truths and preparing you for what's coming. Because behind every great fortune, every extraordinary financial transformation you've witnessed, there operates a fundamental principle that functions like an unbreakable universal law. What you're about to discover will reveal exactly how this invisible mechanism works, and more importantly, how you can harness this force for your own transformation. You see, there's a phenomenon that most people never fully understand. Ancient wisdom and teachings that don't appear on bestseller lists or trending social media feeds possess something almost mystical. They have an extraordinary ability to find exactly the individuals who are ready to receive truths that can completely revolutionize their financial reality. These aren't the popular self-help books everyone's reading or the motivational content that floods your timeline. This is knowledge that operates on a different frequency entirely, seeking out those whose consciousness has reached a specific level of readiness. It's as if these revelations have their own intelligence, their own way of navigating through the noise of modern information overload to reach the minds that can truly comprehend and apply them. If you're serious about transforming your relationship with wealth, subscribing to this channel ensures you won't miss the advanced techniques I share regularly. This isn't content you'll find anywhere else. It's specifically designed for people who understand that real change happens from the inside out. Think about your own journey for a moment. You've probably Spent years, maybe even decades, trying different approaches to improve your financial situation. You've consumed countless articles about budgeting, read success stories of entrepreneurs, maybe even attended workshops or seminars promising to unlock the secrets of wealth creation. Yet despite all this effort, all this dedication, something fundamental always seemed to be missing. It's like having most pieces of a complex puzzle, but never quite finding that crucial piece that makes the entire picture suddenly come together. You know the piece exists because you can see the empty space where it belongs, but no matter how hard you search through conventional channels, it remains elusive. That missing element isn't just another strategy or technique, it's the foundational understanding that transforms everything else you've learned from scattered information into a coherent, powerful system. This is why so many intelligent, hard-working people remain trapped in cycles of financial frustration despite their best efforts. They're operating with incomplete knowledge, trying to build wealth with tools that were never designed to create lasting transformation. They're applying surface-level solutions to deep-rooted patterns that require a completely different approach. The missing piece isn't found in the obvious places. It's not hiding in another budgeting app or investment strategy. It exists in a realm that most people never explore because they don't even know it exists. This is the space where thoughts become things, where mental patterns create physical realities, where your internal state directly shapes your external circumstances in ways that seem impossible until you experience them yourself. Behind the scenes of every remarkable financial transformation, there operates a set of principles that remain largely invisible to casual observation. These principles don't depend on market conditions, economic trends, or even your current financial situation. They operate according to laws that are as reliable as gravity, yet most people live their entire lives without discovering them. Now, I want to go even deeper into this territory, because what you're about to understand will challenge everything you thought you knew about how wealth is actually created. The transformation begins when you realize that prosperity isn't something you chase or stumble upon by accident. It's something you deliberately activate from within through a precise understanding of how your mind interfaces with the creative forces of the universe. Write in the comments, "I'm ready for the missing piece," if you feel this resonates with something you've been searching for without quite knowing what it was. This revelation strikes at the heart of something profound that's been programmed out of most people from an early age. You weren't born to live scraping pennies together, constantly worried about bills, or settling for financial mediocrity. That anxious relationship with money, that feeling of never having enough, that voice in your head that says, "People like us don't get wealthy," none of that is your natural state. Your true purpose isn't to conform to mere survival mode, accepting whatever circumstances life throws your way. You were designed to prosper extraordinarily, to experience abundance as your default setting rather than as some distant dream reserved for others. Think about it. Every cell in your body is programmed for growth. Every system in your being is designed for expansion and optimization. Why would your financial reality be any different? The programming that keeps people trapped in scarcity thinking runs so deep that most individuals never question it. They accept limitation as normal, struggle as inevitable, and financial stress as just part of adult life. But this conditioning isn't your true nature. It's learned behavior that can be unlearned once you understand the mechanisms behind it. You possess something far more powerful than you've been led to believe. Your mind isn't just a thinking machine that processes information and makes decisions. It's a sophisticated instrument capable of interfacing directly with the creative forces that shape reality itself. When properly understood and directed, your consciousness becomes a powerful magnet that naturally attracts abundance and wealth. This isn't motivational fluff or positive thinking taken to an extreme. We're entering territory that involves understanding. Secrets that have remained hidden for generations, carefully guarded knowledge that operates according to precise principles, the superficial techniques and magical formulas that flood the self-help market promise effortless results because they're designed to appeal to people who want transformation without understanding. Real wealth creation operates on entirely different principles. It requires entering a domain where your mind becomes the most sophisticated and powerful tool you possess for manifesting abundance. This is mental science in its purest form, the understanding of how consciousness interacts with the quantum field of possibilities that surrounds you every moment. Behind every great fortune in history, you'll find someone who discovered these principles and applied them with unwavering consistency. They didn't stumble onto wealth by accident or inherit their success from favorable circumstances. They learned to work with invisible forces that most people don't even know exist. These forces respond to specific mental states, particular ways of thinking and feeling that create resonance with abundance rather than resistance to it. When you align your consciousness with these principles, opportunities begin appearing that were previously invisible. Resources start flowing toward you from unexpected sources. People enter your life who can open doors you didn't even know existed. The transformation begins the moment you recognize that wealth isn't something external you have to chase, compete for, or convince others to give you. It's an internal state that, when properly cultivated, automatically generates external results that match its frequency. Now, let me reveal something even more profound about how this internal transformation actually works, because understanding this mechanism will change everything about how you approach building wealth. Write in the comments, "My mind is my greatest asset," if you're beginning to see your potential from this new perspective. The reality is that this understanding isn't meant for everyone who stumbles across it. There's a specific type of person who finds themselves drawn to this information, and chances are, if you've made it this far, you're one of them. You've probably spent years feeling like there's something more waiting for you, something significantly greater than your current circumstances, yet you couldn't quite put your finger on what it was. It's that persistent inner knowing that whispers to you during quiet moments, suggesting possibilities that your logical mind immediately dismisses as unrealistic or too good to be true. Maybe you've caught yourself daydreaming about a completely different life, one where financial stress doesn't dominate your thoughts and decisions, but then that familiar voice of reason kicks in, reminding you to be practical, to stay grounded, to not get your hopes up. This internal conflict between intuition and rationality is actually a sign that something profound is stirring beneath the surface of your consciousness. Your rational mind, trained by years of conditioning and societal programming, naturally resists ideas that challenge the established order of how things are supposed to work. It's designed to keep you safe within familiar boundaries, even if those boundaries have become a prison. This channel is where I consistently share the deeper principles that most wealth education completely overlooks. By subscribing, you're joining a community of individuals who recognize that mindset mastery is the foundation of lasting financial transformation. But your intuition operates on a completely different frequency. It recognizes truth before your conscious mind can analyze and categorize it. It responds to possibilities that haven't yet been proven or validated by external authorities. And right now, as these concepts wash over you, something deeper than logic is evaluating every word, every concept, every revelation. If you're experiencing that inexplicable resonance as you absorb this information, if there's something stirring within you that you can't rationally explain or justify, then your subconscious is already several steps ahead of your conscious awareness. It's recognizing patterns and truths that your analytical mind hasn't caught up with yet. It's preparing neural pathways for new ways of thinking and being that will soon become your dominant operating system. This subconscious recognition doesn't happen randomly or accidentally. It occurs when you've reached a specific threshold of readiness, when your internal system has determined that you're finally prepared to handle information that could fundamentally alter your relationship with reality itself. Your deeper mind is already beginning the process of integration, quietly reorganizing beliefs and assumptions that have governed your experience up until now. The awakening that's beginning to unfold operates according to its own timeline and intelligence. You can't force it or accelerate it through willpower alone, but you can recognize it, honor it, and create space for it to develop naturally. This is the difference between those who encounter transformational knowledge and let it slip away versus those who allow it to take root and flourish into tangible change. What you're experiencing right now isn't just intellectual curiosity or momentary inspiration. It's the initial stirring of a fundamental shift in consciousness that, once fully activated, becomes irreversible. The old patterns of thinking about money, success, and possibility are already beginning to loosen their grip on your psyche. Now, there's something even more profound happening behind the scenes of this recognition. Something that reveals the precise mechanism through which thoughts become physical realities. Write in the comments, "I feel the shift happening," if you're experiencing this internal recognition as something real and tangible, rather than just interesting ideas. This mechanism operates according to what you might call a universal law of decision, something so fundamental that it governs every significant transformation you've ever witnessed. Behind every great fortune, every extraordinary financial breakthrough, every empire built from nothing, there exists a single principle that functions with the reliability of gravity itself. When a mind truly decides something with intensity that completely transcends doubts and fears, the entire universe begins reorganizing itself to support that decision. This isn't abstract philosophy or wishful thinking dressed up in spiritual language. We're talking about an invisible but absolutely real mechanism that governs the manifestation of everything you can observe around you right now. Every building you see from your window started as nothing more than a mental image in an architect's mind. Every successful business that has ever existed began as an idea in someone's consciousness. Every revolutionary invention that has changed the world first took shape as a vision that seemed impossible to everyone else. The computer or phone you're using to watch this, the transportation systems that connect cities, the financial institutions that move money around the globe, all of it had exactly the same starting point. A clear, powerful mental vision held with such conviction that it eventually impressed itself upon physical reality through a series of decisions and actions that seemed to flow naturally from that original thought. This pattern repeats itself so consistently throughout history that you can trace it backward from any achievement to find the moment when someone's mind locked onto a possibility with absolute certainty. That moment of decision creates what you might think of as a gravitational pull that begins attracting the resources, people, and circumstances necessary to bring the vision into physical form. Yet most people go through their entire lives without ever experiencing this kind of decisive mental state. They want things, they wish for better circumstances, they hope for opportunities to improve their situation, but they never reach that critical threshold where wanting transforms into knowing, where possibility becomes inevitability in their consciousness. The difference between these two states is so profound that it creates entirely different realities for the people experiencing them. Someone operating from hope and wishful thinking lives in a world of random chance and external dependency. Someone who has accessed true decision lives in a world where circumstances bend to accommodate their unwavering inner direction. What prevents most people from reaching this decisive state isn't lack of intelligence or capability. It's the accumulated programming that has convinced them to doubt their own power, to rely on external validation, to wait for permission from authorities or favorable conditions before committing fully to their vision. But when you understand that every material success around you began as an immaterial thought held with sufficient intensity, you begin to recognize the creative power that resides within your own consciousness. You start to see that the difference between those who create wealth and those who struggle financially isn't luck, connections, or inherited advantages. It's their relationship with the power of decision itself. Now let me show you exactly how this decisive mental state operates in practice, because understanding the mechanics will allow you to activate this same principle in your own transformation. Write in the comments, "I understand the power of decision," if you're beginning to recognize this pattern in the success stories you've observed throughout your life. The truth behind your financial struggles isn't what you think it is. If you've been working hard for years, trying different strategies, reading countless articles about money management and success principles, yet something fundamental always seems to elude you, there's a specific reason why. You haven't yet grasped the precise mental formula that transforms raw effort into tangible, lasting results. Most people approach wealth building like they're trying to solve a math problem with half the equation missing. They focus intensively on the external mechanics, the budgeting, the investing, the networking, the skill development, but they completely overlook the internal operating system that determines how effectively those external actions can work. It's like trying to run sophisticated software on a computer that's still programmed with outdated limitations. This missing element isn't another technique or strategy you can add to your existing approach. It's a fundamental shift in how your consciousness interfaces with opportunity itself. When this shift occurs, the same actions that previously produced mediocre results suddenly become incredibly effective. The same networking conversations that used to lead nowhere start opening unexpected doors. The same skills you've been developing for years suddenly become magnetic to the right opportunities. The uncomfortable truth that most people spend their entire lives avoiding is this: you weren't born to survive by barely scraping by, constantly worried about bills, accepting financial limitation as your permanent reality. That anxious, scarcity-focused existence isn't your natural state. It's learned behavior that's been reinforced by years of conditioning. You are actually designed for something completely different. Your consciousness has capabilities that extend far beyond what you've been taught to believe possible. When these capabilities are properly understood and directed, your mind becomes something like a powerful magnet that naturally attracts the resources, people, and circumstances aligned with abundance rather than struggle. This isn't about positive thinking or pretending. Your current circumstances don't exist. It's about recognizing that your current financial reality is actually the result of specific mental patterns operating beneath your conscious awareness. These patterns act like invisible software running in the background, automatically filtering your perceptions, influencing your decisions, and determining what opportunities you notice or overlook. Most people never examine these underlying patterns because they're so focused on trying to change external circumstances through external effort. They're attempting to override the results without ever addressing the programming that's creating those results in the first place. It's like trying to change the image on a movie screen by scratching at the screen instead of adjusting the projector. But when you understand how to access and reconfigure these deeper patterns, when you learn to align your internal programming with prosperity instead of scarcity, everything in your external experience begins shifting to match this new internal reality. Now, I want to reveal something even more profound about how this internal transformation actually creates measurable changes in your external world, because understanding this connection will show you exactly why traditional approaches to building wealth often fall short of their intended results. Write in the comments, "I'm ready to reprogram," if you're beginning to recognize these invisible patterns operating in your own financial experience. This transformation has absolutely nothing to do with luck, inherited privileges, or having the right connections handed to you on a silver platter. Those external factors might provide temporary advantages, but they don't create the kind of lasting wealth that sustains itself through multiple generations. What we're exploring operates on a completely different level, a precise mental science that has been carefully preserved and transmitted through generations of individuals who understood its transformational power. This knowledge was never meant to be broadly distributed or commercialized into mass-market self-help products. It was jealously guarded by those who recognized that this information, in the wrong hands or applied without proper preparation, could be misused or simply dismissed as fantasy. The gatekeepers of this understanding only transmitted it to individuals who demonstrated genuine readiness to handle such a profound force of transformation. You see, most people want the results without undergoing the internal preparation necessary to sustain those results. They want the wealth without developing the consciousness that creates and maintains wealth. But this mental technology requires a specific level of maturity, discipline, and understanding that can't be bypassed through shortcuts or surface-level application. At its core, this science reveals something that challenges everything you've been taught about how reality operates. Thoughts, when properly combined with definite purpose and what could only be described as burning faith, become powerful forces in their own right. These aren't the casual passing ideas that drift through your mind throughout the day. We're talking about consciously directed thoughts sustained with unwavering determination and emotional intensity. Think about this for a moment. Every single thing in your immediate environment right now, the device you're using, the furniture around you, the building you're in, all of it existed first as a thought in someone's mind before it became a physical reality. That thought was then held with such clarity and conviction that it eventually impressed itself upon the material world through a series of decisions and actions. This isn't metaphysical speculation, it's observable fact. The bridge between the invisible realm of ideas and the tangible world of results operates according to specific principles that can be understood and applied deliberately. When you grasp how to work with these principles instead of against them, your capacity to influence your circumstances expands dramatically. Most people live their entire lives at the mercy of circumstances, reacting to whatever external conditions present themselves. They've never learned that they possess the ability to become the primary creative force in their own experience. They don't realize that their persistent thoughts, especially those charged with strong emotion and definite intention, are constantly shaping their reality in ways both subtle and profound. The difference between those who create extraordinary wealth and those who struggle financially isn't intelligence, education, or even opportunity. It's their understanding of how to direct their mental energy with the precision and consistency necessary to generate specific results. Now, I want to reveal something that will completely change how you view the relationship between your internal state and your external circumstances, because this understanding unlocks the door to transformation that most people never even know exists. Write in the comments, "My thoughts have power," if you're beginning to recognize the creative force that exists within your own consciousness. The tragedy is that most people spend their entire lives completely unaware of the extraordinary power that resides within their own consciousness. They wake up each day scanning the horizon for external changes, waiting for the economy to improve, hoping their boss will recognize their value, praying for the right opportunity to finally present itself. They've been conditioned to believe that transformation comes from outside forces. A lucky break, a generous benefactor, a perfect set of circumstances aligning at just the right moment. But while they're looking everywhere else for their salvation, the master key to their financial transformation has been exactly where it's always been, in their capacity to decide with an intensity that completely transcends doubt. Not the wishy-washy kind of deciding that most people do, where they sort of want something but aren't really sure if it's possible or if they deserve it. Real decision is something entirely different. You see, most people confuse decision with preference. They think decision is when you choose chocolate over vanilla or when you write down some goals at the beginning of the year. But true decision, the kind that actually creates change in your physical reality, isn't simply a thought that crossed your mind during a motivational moment or a resolution scribbled on paper that gets forgotten by February. Authentic decision is pure energy in its most concentrated state. It's a vibrational force that literally begins reorganizing the invisible structure of your present reality from the moment you access it. Think about the most successful people you know or have studied. There's something different about how they carry themselves, how they speak, how they move through the world. That difference isn't confidence or charisma in the traditional sense. It's the energetic signature of someone who has made real decisions about their destiny. When you truly decide something at this level, your entire nervous system aligns with that decision. Your subconscious mind, which controls about 95% of your daily behaviors and responses, receives this decision as a direct command and immediately begins restructuring your automatic patterns to support it. You start noticing different things, responding to situations differently, attracting different people into your experience. This isn't wishful thinking or positive psychology. It's a measurable shift in your personal frequency that influences everything from your body language to your conversation topics, to the types of opportunities you notice and pursue. People around you begin responding to you differently because you're literally broadcasting a different signal. But here's where most people get stuck. They try to make this kind of decision while still holding on to their safety nets, their backup plans, their reasons why it might not work out. They want to transform while keeping one foot planted firmly in their current circumstances. This internal contradiction creates static in the signal, confusion in the vibration you're sending out to the world. Real decision requires burning the bridges to your old reality, eliminating the escape routes that keep you tethered to limitation. It demands that you choose your future self over your current comfort zone, even when that future self seems impossible from your present vantage point. Now, let me show you exactly how this energetic shift translates into practical changes in your daily experience, because understanding this connection will reveal why some people seem to effortlessly attract opportunities while others struggle despite working incredibly hard. Write in the comments, "I choose my future over my comfort," if you're ready to make the kind of decisions that actually create transformation rather than just temporary inspiration. When you make that kind of authentic decision, when you choose your destiny with unwavering conviction, something truly remarkable begins happening simultaneously in both your internal world and your external environment. It's as if you've activated an invisible magnetic field around your entire being that starts drawing towards you exactly the resources, information, and circumstances needed to transform that decision into lived reality. This isn't metaphorical language. It's a description of an observable phenomenon that you can track in your own experience once you know what to look for. Your energy changes, your presence shifts, your awareness expands, and suddenly the world begins responding to you differently. You're not the same person who was struggling and searching just days or weeks before. You're operating from an entirely different frequency. The right people start appearing in your path without you actively seeking them out. Maybe it's a conversation with a stranger in line at the coffee shop that opens an unexpected door. Perhaps it's an old acquaintance who reaches out with a proposition that aligns perfectly with your new direction. Or it could be meeting someone at an event you almost didn't attend who becomes instrumental in your transformation. Brilliant ideas begin emerging at the most unexpected moments. During your morning shower, while you're stuck in traffic or in that drowsy space between sleep and waking. These aren't random thoughts, but solutions, strategies, and insights that seem to download directly into your consciousness with startling clarity and completeness. Opportunities that were previously invisible to you, completely off your radar, suddenly become not just evident, but accessible. Resources you never knew existed reveal themselves. Possibilities that seemed reserved for other people somehow become available to you. Information that could accelerate your progress finds its way to you through channels you never would have thought to explore. All of this happens because you moved first with absolute conviction. You didn't wait for permission or perfect conditions. You didn't demand to see the entire staircase before taking the first step. You committed to a destination and trusted your ability to figure out the path as you walked it. This is what separates those who create extraordinary results from those who spend years hoping for change while remaining essentially the same person. The universe, in all its complexity, has a fascinating tendency to reorganize itself around individuals who demonstrate this kind of unwavering commitment to their chosen destiny. But here's something most people never realize about this process. It operates according to principles that are far more precise and predictable than most people imagine. There's actually a specific mechanism at work that determines how quickly and effectively this magnetic attraction begins functioning in your life. Now, I want to show you exactly how to accelerate this entire process by understanding the one element that determines whether your decisions create lasting transformation or simply fade back into wishful thinking. Write in the comments, "I'm becoming magnetic," if you can sense this shift beginning to happen in your own experience as you absorb these concepts. That element is what transforms casual wanting into a force that your subconscious mind recognizes as a direct command. When you develop what could only be called burning desire, not the surface-level wanting that most people experience, but that deep, consuming drive that becomes part of your identity, something fascinating happens in the hidden depths of your consciousness. Burning desire functions as a specific instruction, a precise order that your subconscious mind receives and begins executing without question or delay. Think of your subconscious as an incredibly sophisticated supercomputer that's always running in the background, processing millions of pieces of information every single day. Most of the time, it operates on autopilot, following programs that were installed years ago through repetition and emotional intensity. But when you feed it a burning desire, when you consistently focus on a specific outcome with genuine emotional intensity, you're essentially installing new software, giving it a clear directive about what to prioritize, what to notice, and how to interpret the constant stream of information flowing through your awareness. Your subconscious doesn't operate on the same timeline as your conscious mind. While you're sleeping, while you're focused on other tasks, while you're going about your daily routine, this powerful processing system is working continuously to fulfill the order you've given it. It begins connecting dots that your rational mind would never think to connect. It starts recognizing patterns and possibilities that were always there but previously invisible to your conscious perception. This massive processing power operates every hour of every day, filtering the overwhelming amount of information you encounter and highlighting exactly those elements that could bring you closer to your objective. Suddenly, you start noticing articles, conversations, opportunities, and resources that seem perfectly aligned with your goal. It's not that these things weren't there before, it's that your internal radar system has been reprogrammed to recognize their significance. The efficiency with which this process operates can seem almost supernatural to people who have never experienced it. Ideas appear in your mind that seem to come from nowhere but turn out to be exactly what you needed. You find yourself in the right place at the right time more frequently than statistical probability would suggest. People you need to meet somehow cross your path in the most unlikely circumstances. But here's what most people don't understand about this process. It requires a specific type of emotional fuel to function at its highest capacity. Lukewarm interest doesn't generate enough energy to reprogram these deep patterns. Casual hoping doesn't create the kind of magnetic pull that reorganizes circumstances. Only burning desire possesses the intensity necessary to break through the existing programming and install new directives. Now, I want to reveal something that will completely shift your understanding of how this desire transforms from an internal state into external results, because recognizing this pattern will show you exactly why most people's goals never materialize despite their sincere efforts. Write in the comments, "My subconscious is my ally," if you're beginning to understand how to work with this powerful aspect of your mind rather than against it. The reason most people's goals never materialize, despite their sincere efforts and genuine desire to improve their situation, lies in a deeply ingrained belief system that actually sabotages their success before they even begin. There's this pervasive, almost universal assumption that wealth is fundamentally a matter of luck, being in the right place at the right time, having privileged connections from birth, or stumbling onto opportunities that aren't available to regular people. This victim mentality, though it might feel realistic or even humble, is precisely what creates the invisible barrier between those who build genuine financial empires and those who spend their entire existence waiting for something magical to happen to them. When you operate from the belief that success depends on external factors beyond your control, you unconsciously program yourself to remain passive, to wait for permission, to hope for rescue, rather than taking the decisive action that creates transformation. But here's what destroys that myth completely. Nobody in the history of wealth creation has ever become rich by accident. Not one person. Every millionaire, every successful entrepreneur, every individual who has transformed their financial reality began with exactly the same resource you have right now, their mind. But they used it in a way that most people never learn. They built a mental image so clear, so obsessive, and so indomitable that it literally became the dominating force of their daily existence. We're not talking about occasional daydreaming or wishful thinking that happens when you see someone else's success story on social media. This is something entirely different, a crystal clear vision that becomes more real to them than their current circumstances, more compelling than their present limitations. This mental image isn't a fantasy they escape to when reality becomes uncomfortable. It's the blueprint of a future reality they're actively constructing in their consciousness. Every detail is vivid, every aspect is specific, every element is emotionally charged with the intensity of someone who knows, beyond any shadow of doubt, that this vision will eventually become their lived experience. When you study the patterns of people who have created extraordinary wealth, you discover that this mental image becomes so dominant in their awareness that it literally rewires their neural pathways. Their brain begins operating as if this future reality is inevitable, which changes how they interpret information, how they respond to setbacks, what opportunities they notice, and what actions they take automatically. Most people carry vague hopes about improving their situation someday, but successful individuals carry precise, detailed visions that consume their attention and direct their energy with laser-like focus. The difference in results these two approaches produce is so dramatic that it creates what appears to be two different species of human beings operating in the same world. Now, I want to show you exactly how to construct this kind of vision in your own consciousness, because understanding the specific mechanics will allow you to tap into the same creative force that has built every fortune in human history. Write in the comments, "I see my vision clearly," if you're ready to move beyond hoping and waiting into the realm of deliberate creation. The distinction between those who actually materialize their financial dreams and those who remain trapped in endless cycles of frustration comes down to one critical factor that most people completely overlook. It's not about working harder, having better strategies, or even possessing more talent. The abysmal difference lies in the absolute specificity of their desire. Most people approach wealth creation with vague, undefined wants that float around their consciousness like clouds, shapeless, constantly changing, impossible to grasp or direct with any precision. They say things like, "I want to be wealthy," or "I need more money," or "I'd like to be financially free someday." These fuzzy aspirations produce exactly what you'd expect from such unclear input. Equally vague and disappointing results that never quite materialize into anything substantial. But specific, detailed desires that have been refined to crystal clarity and charged with emotional intensity, produce what many would consider tangible miracles. When you study the transformation stories of people who have created extraordinary wealth, you discover they didn't start with general hopes about prosperity. They began with laser-focused intentions that left no room for ambiguity or interpretation. This means defining exactly how much money you want to generate, not a lot or enough to be comfortable, but a precise figure that your subconscious mind can use as a specific target. Whether it's $50,000, $200,000 or $2 million, the exact number matters because your mind needs concrete coordinates to navigate toward. Equally important is establishing when you want to reach that goal. Not someday in the distant future when conditions are perfect, but an exact date marked on your calendar. This deadline creates urgency and transforms a dream into a project with measurable milestones and accountability. But here's where most people's goal setting falls apart completely. They skip the most crucial element that determines whether their desire has the power to actually manifest. They never determine why they want that specific amount, what deep purpose gives that number emotional significance and driving force. Without this underlying motivation, even the most precisely defined goal becomes another empty wish that lacks the energy necessary to overcome obstacles and maintain momentum through challenges. The final piece involves visualizing exactly how your life will look, feel, and function when you've achieved that specific goal. Not general fantasies about being rich, but detailed mental movies of your transformed daily experience, where you live, how you spend your time, what decisions you make from this new position of financial strength. When these elements combine, precise amount, definite timeline, compelling purpose, and vivid visualization, they create something that transcends ordinary goal setting and enters the realm of conscious creation. Now, I want to reveal the hidden mechanism that transforms these precisely defined desires into the unstoppable force that literally reorganizes reality around your intentions. Write in the comments, "I know exactly what I want," if you're ready to move beyond vague hoping into the precision that creates actual transformation. That hidden mechanism reveals itself when your precisely defined desire undergoes a profound transformation that most people never experience. True desire, when it reaches its full potential, develops an extraordinary characteristic that immediately distinguishes it. From the superficial longings that keep most people spinning their wheels year after year, it stops needing external motivation to propel you toward action. Think about how most people approach their goals. They read a motivational book and feel inspired for a few days, then gradually lose steam and return to their old patterns. They attend a seminar and get fired up for a week or two, then find themselves back where they started. They rely on external sources of encouragement, accountability, partners, or favorable circumstances to maintain their momentum. But when desire transforms into what can only be described as organized obsession, everything changes. This isn't the destructive type of obsession that consumes your energy in anxious, circular thinking. It's a directed force that completely reorganizes your priorities, your time allocation, your decision-making processes, and even your automatic responses to daily situations. You wake up naturally before your alarm because your mind is already engaged with your vision. You find yourself studying, learning, and developing skills during times when others choose entertainment or distraction, not because you're forcing yourself through discipline, but because this growth feels as necessary as breathing. Conversations that used to interest you now feel shallow compared to the intensity of your purpose. This organized obsession becomes the organizing principle of your entire existence, the lens through which you evaluate. Every opportunity, every relationship, every use of your time and energy. It's not that you become single-minded in an unhealthy way. Rather, you develop an extraordinary clarity about what serves your vision and what doesn't. When this state combines with the precision we discussed, the exact amounts, specific timelines, and compelling purposes, something remarkable occurs in the invisible realm where thoughts begin their journey toward becoming physical realities. You're no longer just thinking positively or visualizing success in the abstract. You're creating what could only be called mental alchemy, when you mix absolutely clear thoughts with the intense emotion of burning desire, when you consistently focus on your specific vision with the kind of emotional intensity that most people reserve for emergencies. You're creating an unstoppable force that operates according to principles most people never discover. This force can literally move invisible mountains and reorganize the circumstances of your external reality in ways that seem to defy conventional logic. Your focused intention, charged with authentic emotion and sustained with unwavering consistency, begins generating what you might think of as a vibrational signature that influences everything from the opportunities you notice to the people who are drawn into your experience. It's not that you're manipulating reality through willpower alone. You're aligning your internal state with the creative forces that are constantly shaping experience at levels most people never perceive. Now, I want to reveal something that will completely change how you understand the relationship between your inner world and the results you experience in your outer world. Write in the comments, "I feel the obsession awakening," if you recognize this shift from casual wanting to the kind of directed force that actually creates transformation. That relationship operates through principles that challenge everything you've been taught about how reality actually functions. Each thought you generate throughout your day carries a specific energetic charge, a vibrational signature that most people remain completely unaware of. But when you combine those thoughts with authentic emotion, not artificial enthusiasm you're trying to manufacture, but genuine feeling that arises from deep conviction, that charge multiplies exponentially. This creates a vibrational signal so potent that it begins to cross invisible barriers that normally separate what you desire from what you actually experience in your daily life. Think about moments when you've been intensely focused on something important to you, completely absorbed in the vision of what you wanted to create. In those states, time seems to collapse, opportunities appear from nowhere, and coincidences occur with startling frequency. That's not mystical thinking. It's your consciousness operating at a level of coherence that allows it to interface with the creative mechanisms that are constantly shaping experience. Most people live in such scattered mental states that they never access this level of focused intention, never discover what becomes possible when thought and emotion align with mathematical precision. Every time you combine a specific mental image of your financial objective with the genuine emotion of having already achieved it, you're essentially sending a direct order to what scientists are beginning to understand as the quantum field of possibilities that surrounds you constantly. This field contains infinite potential outcomes, infinite ways your circumstances could unfold, infinite paths your life could take. But here's what most people don't realize. This field responds to clarity, not confusion. It responds to conviction, not doubt. It responds to the sustained focus of someone who knows exactly what they want and feels the reality of having it with unwavering certainty. When you consistently hold this combination of precise vision and authentic emotion, something begins shifting in the invisible realm where possibilities become probabilities and probabilities eventually become experiences. Your personal reality starts reorganizing itself around your dominant mental images, not because you're forcing change through willpower, but because you're aligning with creative forces that operate at levels most people never explore. This is why two people can take identical actions, read the same books, attend the same seminars, follow the same strategies, yet produce completely different results. The person operating from scattered attention and weak desire generates weak results. The person operating from laser focus and burning conviction generates extraordinary results. But there's something even more profound happening when you maintain this aligned state consistently over time, something that reveals why certain individuals seem to live in a completely different universe of possibility than everyone around them. Now let me show you exactly how this alignment with creative forces manifests in your practical, everyday experience, because understanding these mechanics will reveal why some people attract wealth naturally while others struggle despite working incredibly hard. Write in the comments, "I'm aligning with possibility," if you can sense how this focused intention might be different from the scattered wanting that most people experience. The alignment manifests in your practical experience through a phenomenon that reveals one of the most unforgiving truths about wealth creation. The universe, with all its infinite complexity and potential, responds only to those who commit with absolute intensity, with iron determination that accepts no excuses, no retreats, no backup plans when the first resistances appear. This operates as precisely and mathematically as gravity. Just as gravity doesn't care about your opinion of it or whether you believe in it, it simply responds to mass with consistent force. The creative mechanisms that shape reality respond only to the mass of your commitment. Half-hearted desire generates half-hearted results. Wishy-washy intention produces wishy-washy outcomes. But unwavering commitment, the kind that burns through obstacles rather than finding ways around them, generates results that seem impossible to those operating from lesser levels of intensity. Most people want the benefits of wealth without paying the price of total commitment. They want transformation while keeping their comfort zones intact. They want extraordinary results while maintaining ordinary levels of dedication. But the universe doesn't negotiate with lukewarm intentions. It can't deliver abundance to someone who isn't absolutely certain they want it, who changes direction every time they encounter resistance. This is where we encounter something that separates the genuine creators of wealth from those who spend their lives hoping for financial improvement. There is no authentic wealth without burning desire, not the casual wanting that most people mistake for serious intention, but that inner force that consumes productively, that reorganizes your entire life around its fulfillment. This burning desire doesn't let you sleep peacefully while important tasks remain undone. It wakes you up early, not because you set an alarm, but because your nervous system is so aligned with your vision that rest feels like wasted opportunity. It makes you choose development over distraction, growth over comfort, strategic action over immediate gratification, not through harsh discipline, but through natural attraction to what serves your ultimate objective. When people observe this level of commitment from the outside, they often mistake it for workaholism or unhealthy obsession. But burning desire is the opposite of destructive compulsion. It's organized energy that flows naturally toward a specific outcome, creating a state of being that feels more alive, more purposeful, more connected to your authentic power than any temporary comfort could provide. This is the fuel that powers every significant financial transformation. Without it, you might achieve modest improvements, small wins, incremental progress, but the kind of wealth that creates true freedom, that transforms not just your bank account, but your entire relationship with possibility itself, requires this level of internal fire. Now let me reveal something that will show you exactly how this burning desire transforms from an internal state into measurable changes in your external circumstances. Write in the comments, "My desire burns bright," if you can feel this intensity beginning to organize itself within your consciousness as something more than casual hope. That transformation operates at levels most people never access because they're focused entirely on obtaining money rather than understanding what's really required to sustain it. The burning desire we've been exploring isn't just about acquiring wealth. It's about internally evolving until you become someone who can create, maintain, and multiply that abundance over time without losing it through poor decisions or unconscious sabotage. This distinction is crucial because history is filled with people who stumbled into money through luck, inheritance, or temporary opportunities, only to lose it all within a few years. They had the external resources, but lacked the internal development necessary to handle that level of responsibility and possibility. True burning desire transforms you from the deepest roots of your identity, rewiring not just your conscious goals, but your automatic responses, your decision-making patterns, your relationship with risk and opportunity. You begin thinking like someone who naturally creates value rather than someone who hopes to receive it. Your conversations shift towards solutions and possibilities rather than problems and limitations. Your time allocation automatically prioritizes activities that compound rather than activities that simply consume. These changes happen organically as your internal identity aligns with your external objectives. This identity evolution is what allows the burning desire to sustain itself through inevitable challenges and setbacks. When your vision is just something you want, obstacles can derail you completely. But when your vision becomes part of who you are, obstacles become puzzles to solve rather than reasons to quit. The moment you reach this level of integrated commitment, when you decide with genuine intensity rather than hopeful wishing, something extraordinary begins happening in what could be called your personal energetic field. It's like activating an invisible but tremendously powerful magnetic field that starts attracting exactly the circumstances, people, and opportunities needed to materialize that decision. This isn't metaphorical language. It's a description of observable phenomena that you can track in your own experience once you understand what to look for. Your presence changes in ways that others notice immediately, even if they can't articulate what's different about you. You carry yourself differently, speak with different authority, make decisions with different confidence. People begin responding to you as if you've already achieved what you're working toward, opening doors and offering opportunities that weren't available when you were operating from uncertainty or desperation. Your network expands naturally because successful individuals are drawn to others who radiate the same kind of focused intention they recognize in themselves. Resources start flowing toward you through channels you never would have expected because your clear intention creates a kind of beacon that attracts whatever elements are necessary for your vision to manifest. Information finds you, mentors appear, partnerships form, and possibilities emerge with a synchronicity that seems almost orchestrated. Now, let me reveal the one element that determines whether this magnetic attraction becomes a temporary phenomenon or transforms into a permanent capacity for creating wealth. Write in the comments, "I'm evolving my identity," if you can sense this shift happening at the deepest levels of how you see yourself and your possibilities. That element is the critical distinction between two types of mental intensity that produce completely opposite results in your life. You must learn to convert your desire into what can only be called organized obsession, because there's a world of difference between the obsession that destroys and the obsession that creates extraordinary outcomes. Destructive obsession consumes massive amounts of mental energy in circular thinking patterns that lead nowhere productive. It manifests as constant worry about whether your goals are realistic, endless analysis of potential problems, anxious monitoring of every small setback, and emotional roller coasters that drain your vitality without generating forward momentum. This type of obsession feels heavy, chaotic, and exhausting because it's focused on everything that could go wrong rather than everything you can do right. Organized obsession operates from an entirely different frequency. It channels all that same emotional intensity towards specific actions, strategic decisions, and laser-focused attention that converts each day into measurable progress toward your objective. Instead of spinning in mental circles, you find yourself naturally drawn to activities that compound over time. Learning skills that directly serve your vision, building relationships with people who can accelerate your progress, making decisions that consistently move you closer to your target. This organized obsession doesn't feel frantic or overwhelming because it's directed energy flowing toward a clear destination. You experience it as a sense of purpose so strong that distractions lose their appeal, not because you're forcing yourself to resist them, but because they simply feel less interesting than the work of building your chosen future. When this organized obsession reaches its full development, it naturally evolves into something even more powerful, what could be described as unwavering faith. Not religious faith or blind optimism, but faith as a highly concentrated mental state, an internal certainty so solid that it doesn't allow you to even consider defeat as a real possibility in your mental vocabulary. This faith isn't something you have to manufacture through positive affirmations or convince yourself to believe. It emerges naturally when your desire has burned away all the mental static of doubt and uncertainty. You simply know, with the same certainty you know your own name, that your vision will materialize because you've committed to making it inevitable through sustained, intelligent action. When this unshakable faith combines with the intense emotion of burning desire, something remarkable occurs that can only be called mental alchemy. The fusion of absolute certainty with passionate intensity creates a force that can transform the simplest idea into an irresistible magnetic influence in your life and in the world around you. This isn't wishful thinking or motivational psychology. It's a description of how consciousness operates when it reaches levels of coherence and focus that most people never experience. In this state, obstacles become puzzles to solve rather than reasons to quit. Setbacks become feedback rather than failures. Resistance becomes information about what needs to be adjusted rather than evidence that your goal is impossible. Now let me show you exactly how this mental alchemy translates into practical changes in your daily experience. Because understanding this connection will reveal why some people seem to live under lucky stars while others struggle, despite working incredibly hard. Write in the comments, "My faith is unshakable," if you can sense this level of certainty beginning to crystallize in your consciousness as something more solid than hope or wishful thinking. This mental alchemy translates into practical transformation through a discipline that separates those who maintain their breakthroughs from those who experience temporary inspiration that fades back into old patterns. Building genuine faith requires voluntarily directing your thoughts toward the image of your already materialized success, not occasionally when you feel like it, but as a deliberate daily practice that becomes as automatic as breathing. This means actively and consciously intercepting every contrary thought that attempts to infiltrate your mind and redirecting your attention back to your vision. It's a daily mental battle between the old programming of limitation that has governed your experience for years and the new programming of abundance that you're installing through conscious repetition. Most people underestimate how persistent the old patterns can be. Doubt doesn't simply disappear because you've decided to think positively. Fear doesn't evaporate because you've set ambitious goals. These deeply ingrained responses will continue surfacing, testing your commitment to your new mental direction. But when you consistently choose your vision over your current circumstances, when you persistently focus on where you're going rather than where you've been, something profound begins shifting in your relationship with reality itself. Your nervous system starts operating from the assumption that your success is inevitable rather than hoping it might be possible. This internal shift creates the foundation for what becomes the most powerful accelerator of your transformation. Learning to inhabit energetically the space of the person who already possesses what you're manifesting. This isn't about pretending or creating an artificial persona. It's about recognizing that the version of you who has achieved your financial goals already exists as a potential in this moment. When you begin moving, speaking, and making decisions from that future identity, when you act as if you already have the abundance you seek, you're participating in what could only be described as deep, energetic communication with the field of possibilities that surrounds you constantly. Your behavior becomes a declaration of your new reality, rather than a plea for circumstances to change. You walk with the confidence of someone who knows their destination. You speak with the authority of someone who has resolved their financial concerns. You make choices from the perspective of the prosperous person you're becoming rather than from the scarcity mindset of who you used to be. This embodiment isn't about spending money you don't have or making reckless decisions based on fantasy. It's about aligning your internal state with your intended outcome so completely that your external actions naturally begin reflecting that alignment. Now let me reveal the hidden obstacle that sabotages this entire process for most people, an invisible enemy that can destroy years of progress in moments if you don't learn to recognize and neutralize its influence. Write in the comments, "I embody my success now," if you can sense how this shift in identity might be different from simply wishing for better circumstances. That hidden obstacle masquerades as a harmless personality trait, but it's actually one of the most insidious forms of self-sabotage that exists. Indecision isn't simply a character weakness or a tendency to overthink. It's disguised poverty, operating systematically behind the scenes of your experience, blocking every opportunity that could lead you toward the abundance you seek. Most people don't recognize indecision as the wealth destroyer it really is, because it feels safe, even prudent. They tell themselves they're being careful, weighing options, making sure they don't make mistakes. But while they're analyzing and hesitating, opportunities evaporate, timing shifts, and windows of possibility close forever. Successful people make quick, firm decisions because they understand something that escapes most individuals. They know exactly what they want, which makes recognizing relevant opportunities almost automatic. When you have crystal clarity about your destination, most choices become obvious. When you lack that clarity, every decision becomes a paralyzing maze of endless considerations. But indecision does something even more destructive than causing you to miss opportunities. It broadcasts uncertainty to the world around you, signaling to others that you're not ready for significant responsibility or partnership. People sense indecision at an energetic level and unconsciously avoid bringing serious opportunities to someone who seems unsure of their direction. The antidote to this wealth destroyer lies in understanding and mastering what might be the most undervalued tool in your possession, your imagination. Not the passive daydreaming that most people mistake for imagination, but imagination as the divine workshop where literally all fortunes are forged before they manifest in the physical world. Everything you can observe in your environment right now, every building, every invention, every successful enterprise, was born first in someone's mind who dared to imagine what didn't yet exist. Your imagination isn't an escape from reality. It's the laboratory where new realities are designed and tested before they appear in material form. When you learn to use your imagination with the precision and intensity of someone who understands its creative power, you gain access to possibilities that remain invisible to those who only work with existing conditions. You begin seeing solutions where others see problems, opportunities where others see obstacles, potential where others see limitation. But most people use their imagination against themselves, constantly visualizing worst-case scenarios, replaying past failures, or creating elaborate fantasies about problems that may never occur. They've turned their most powerful creative tool into an instrument of self-destruction. Now, I want to reveal the specific technique that transforms imagination from a random mental activity into a precision instrument for creating wealth. Write in the comments, "I choose decisive action," if you're ready to eliminate the indecision that has been blocking your progress and start using your imagination as the creative force it was designed to be. That technique reveals itself when you understand that your imagination operates on two completely different levels, each with distinct capabilities and access to different types of creative possibilities. Most people only ever use what could be called synthetic imagination, the ability to take existing ideas, concepts, and experiences from your memory and recombine them in new ways to solve familiar problems or create variations of things that already exist. This synthetic imagination is tremendously valuable and responsible for most incremental innovations you see in business and technology. It allows you to adapt successful strategies from other industries to your situation, modify existing products to serve new markets, or combine skills you already possess in ways that create additional value. But synthetic imagination is limited by what you already know, constrained by your existing experiences and knowledge base. There exists a second type of imagination that operates in an entirely different realm, creative imagination, which functions as a direct channel to unlimited possibilities, connecting you to solutions and opportunities that transcend your current understanding. This is where revolutionary inventions are conceived, where millionaire business ideas seem to download complete into someone's consciousness, where brilliant solutions to seemingly impossible problems appear suddenly with startling clarity. Creative imagination doesn't depend on what you already know or have experienced. It operates from intelligence beyond your individual mind, accessing possibilities that exist in potential but haven't yet been discovered or materialized by anyone. When you learn to quiet the constant chatter of synthetic thinking and open yourself to this deeper creative source, ideas can emerge that seem to come from nowhere but prove to be exactly what the world needs. The greatest wealth creators throughout history have intuitively understood how to access this level of imagination, even if they couldn't explain the mechanism behind it. They learned to create mental space for insights that transcended logical analysis, for solutions that couldn't be reached through conventional thinking alone. But here's what transforms this understanding from interesting theory into practical wealth-building capability. You must recognize that external abundance is always the direct reflection of a specific internal state. This isn't motivational philosophy. It's observable fact that you can verify in your own experience once you know what to look for. Wealth isn't something you chase, compete for, or convince others to give you. It's something you awaken from within by transforming your dominant mental state from scarcity consciousness to abundance consciousness. Your internal code, the programming that runs automatically in your subconscious mind, creates your external reality with the precision of software generating output on a computer screen. When that internal code is programmed for limitation, struggle, and financial anxiety, it automatically filters opportunities through that lens, causing you to notice problems more than possibilities, to focus on what's missing rather than what's available. When it's programmed for abundance, creativity, and confident expectation, it generates entirely different perceptions, decisions, and results. If you've made it this far, something significant has already shifted within you. You've absorbed these concepts not just intellectually, but at a deeper level, where real transformation begins. The fact that you stayed engaged through this entire journey tells me that you're genuinely ready to apply this understanding rather than simply consume more information. This channel exists for people exactly like you, those who recognize that creating wealth requires more than surface-level tactics and quick fixes. Every video I create is designed to take you deeper into these principles, to give you the tools and understanding that most people never encounter. If this resonated with you, subscribing means you'll be part of this ongoing exploration of how consciousness creates reality in practical, measurable ways. Write in the comments, "This message was meant for me," if you feel like this information found you at exactly the right moment in your journey. I read every comment, and it helps me understand who's truly ready for this level of transformation. If this hour together created that sense of recognition, that feeling of finally hearing someone explain what you've intuitively known was possible, hitting that like button lets me know this connection was real. It's your way of acknowledging that something valuable was exchanged here. There's a video right here that goes even deeper into the specific techniques for programming your subconscious mind to automatically attract the opportunities you need. It's the natural next step for everything we've explored today. Click and continue with me over there. Your transformation is just getting started.